Are you Satoshi Nakamoto? He points out you are one of the very few people whose work is directly cited by the Bitcoin white paper. Did you ever communicate with him via email or phone?
Be viewed as a kind of inflation hedge in a very gold-like way, which is why I say it's more like a discovery than an invention.
He believes that Bitcoin is going to be $13 million. You've got Mark Cuban. He has basically said he just sold out his entire holding of Bitcoin. Which side are you on?
All right, this next clip is interesting because they're pressuring Adam Back on whether he could actually be Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. And so let's listen closely to Adam Back talking about Bitcoin.
Still alive, though. Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive is the man at the center of the guessing game, Blockstream co-founder and CEO Adam Back. Adam, okay. This is your chance right here on Fox Business in the Claim and Countdown to come clean. Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
No, it's not me. I think it's a sign of the growing interest between ETF buyers, institutions, sovereigns that this sort of mystery kept alive. I think in the absence of information, when there's a mystery, people are going to write their own story ultimately. But Bitcoin is a very interesting, geopolitically neutral money. While it's down, it has recovered, from the bottom of the geopolitical news faster than stock indexes and things like that. So I think in the short term it can be correlated, but in the longer term it is fairly decorrelated from other assets. And ultimately, in my view, should be viewed as a kind of inflation hedge in a very gold-like way.
All right, so in this next clip, they start digging deeper into the mystery around Satoshi Nakamoto and whether Adam Back could actually be connected to the creation of Bitcoin. But honestly, what I think is more interesting is the bigger idea that started talking about the Bitcoin may have become bigger than whoever created it. They also started comparing Bitcoin to gold and explaining why some people believe Bitcoin is basically a digital version of gold for the internet era. And what's really interesting is they also bring up the split in opinion right now because some billionaires are massively bullish on Bitcoin long term, while others still don't fully buy the hedge narrative. Listen closely to how Adam Back explains why Bitcoin may be more like a discovery than any investment.
We'll talk about that in just a second because Mark Cuban, the billionaire, just sold most of his fund. I think he cashed out of Bitcoin because he doesn't think it's a hedge. But let me just say, I'd love to believe you, but I read the New York Times article by John Carrier, who used to work for the Wall Street Journal. He is a brilliant journalist. In fact, he's the one who outed the fraud over at Theranos, that blood testing company. And much of the reason that he points the finger at you is because he points out you are one of the very few people whose work is directly cited by the Bitcoin white paper that introduced the first decentralized and digital currency, written by, supposedly, Satoshi. What do you remember from back then? And he cited your work. Did you ever communicate with him via email or phone?
Yes, I had some emails that were published during the Cooper trial a few years ago with Satoshi in August 2008. I think probably there were definitely people interested in Bitcoin-like ideas, trying to work out how to make a decentralized electronic cash, which is partly why I say that, and this is in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, which is why I say it's more like a discovery than an invention, because people had the rough idea of how a decentralized electronic cash could work, but they didn't manage to make it work. And Satoshi figured out the rest of it and implemented and published. So I think it's actually, as you have no regret saying there, a good thing. And I don't think we're ever going to know who this is. And that's it's appropriate because Bitcoin is really like gold, where we don't discuss or consider what is the original discoverer of gold as the use of gold as a money. I think it was lost in history effectively 6,000 years ago, but also it doesn't matter. Gold is gold. It has certain very beneficial properties, and Bitcoin is a digital version of that. And of course, we have many phenomena where the digital version of something is superior to the pre-digital era version of it.
All right, so in this next clip, they start comparing two completely different views on Bitcoin's future. On one side, you've got Michael Saylor, who believes Bitcoin could eventually reach millions of dollars and become one of the best performing assets in the world. And on the other side, you have Mark Cuban, who basically sold out of Bitcoin because he didn't fully believe in it worked as a hedge during global political uncertainty. So this conversation really becomes about whether Bitcoin is just another risk asset or if it's actually evolving into a digital version of gold over the long term. Listen closely to how Adam Back explains why he leans much more toward Michael Saylor perspective.
Bitcoin acolytes and longtime believers. There are two of them right now on opposite ends. Michael Saylor, who founded Strategy. He owns at this point, I think, 843,000 Bitcoins. He is always purchasing for his company, which is now a Bitcoin holding or Bitcoin treasury. He believes that Bitcoin is going to be $13 million by 2045. He believes it'll outperform the S&P. He's expecting a 30% annual return for the digital asset. On the other hand, you've got Mark Cuban, who of course is the billionaire, and he has basically said he just sold out his entire holding of Bitcoin, concluding that it, quote, failed to act as a hedge against a weakening dollar and geopolitical turmoil related to the Iran war. Which side are you on here? And does either argument, catch your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I think a reasonable analogy for Bitcoin's digital gold is physical gold and its market cap, which would see, a 1.5 million valuation if Bitcoin reached parity with that. I have a friendly bet with a fellow on Twitter from last year that Bitcoin could reach parity with gold by this end of this cycle, which is spring 2028. So about 2 years. We're about halfway through the 2-year Bitcoin halving cycle. So I'm much more in the Michael Saylor viewpoint that Bitcoin has a growing place in the world. Of course, it's short-term volatile, as I say. Short-term has periods of correlation with stock indexes, tech indexes, but in the bigger picture, you've got to bear in mind that it wasn't many, a couple of years ago that Bitcoin was a lot lower, like 10 times lower and things like that, right?
So, I remember.
Yeah.
13,000 a couple of years ago, and now look at it, 75,000.
All right, so in this next clip, they start talking about one of the biggest mysteries in all of crypto. What would actually happen if Satoshi Nakamoto suddenly appeared tomorrow? Would Bitcoin become stronger because the mystery is solved? Or would it actually hurt Bitcoin because part of Bitcoin's power comes from the fact that nobody controls it? They also get into the fact that Satoshi's wallets had supposedly remained untouched for all these years, which is one of the biggest reasons people still obsess over who created Bitcoin in the first place. And honestly, what's fascinating is Adam Back basically argues that Bitcoin may have already evolved beyond needing a founder at all.
If Satoshi emerged tomorrow, would Bitcoin do well, be better off, or would it be in trouble because the mystery of a decentralized and totally anonymous currency be vaporized?
Well, I think we're unlikely to ever know. It's like 15 years old and a cold, very cold trail of digital breadcrumbs that so many people have analyzed.
If I could just interrupt, one thing that really has the mystery heating up is that Satoshi's Bitcoin holding or wallet has not been touched. It's been dormant all this time. Do you think that whoever Satoshi is no longer alive?
It's speculation. I think that the observation you mentioned is kind of heuristic in nature. So it's not certain that he didn't sell any or exactly which ones are his. It's sort of looking at patterns and trying to draw inference that was a single miner. There are, 2.5 times that many coins mined in the first year. So there were clearly many thousands of other miners active in the network at that time, some of who have, spoken about the experience of being involved in Bitcoin in 2009 already.
I wish I could say that the mystery has been put to rest, but I know no matter what you say or what we report, people are still going to think it's you. But either way, enjoy the moment. Thank you, Adam, for joining us.
All right, guys, after watching this whole interview, I honestly think the bigger story here isn't just whether Adam Back is Satoshi. I think the bigger story is that Bitcoin has evolved beyond needing a founder at all. The way they talked about Bitcoin as digital gold, geopolitical neutral money, and long-term store of value really shows how much the conversation around Bitcoin has changed over the years. And what's interesting is you now have completely different opinions from major investors. Some people think Bitcoin is still just a risk speculative asset, while others think it could become one of the most important financial assets in the world over the next couple decades. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Bitcoin eventually becomes digital gold? Or do you think Adam Back could actually be Satoshi? And whether you think Bitcoin is headed long term. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, share the video, and comment because it really helps the channel grow. And remember, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And definitely do your own research. See you in the next video.